Hello, today we are with Cheri Garcia of Cornbread Hustle. How you doing, Cheri?
Hi, how are you? I'm happy to be here. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I wanted to have you on. In oil and gas, there are a lot of guys that have maybe made some mistakes in their past, and oil and gas is always one of those places they can go earn a great income, um, engineering, things of that nature. So it's always sad when there's a bust because a lot of them have trouble finding work. And then I came across you on LinkedIn, and that's kind of your specialty is finding great guys and women that have changed their lives. I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on it and how it's all put together, how it came about.
Yeah, so you're right. A lot of people in oil do struggle with addiction. I know a lot of the times whenever we get job opportunities for our second chancers, the managers will always tell us, hey, I lead my team in a certain way and we don't tolerate drugs, but I just want to let you know they're going to be in a really rough environment because there are so many people here who abuse drugs. And I know methamphetamine specifically is one of those, and that's a drug that I struggled with. So
Hmm.
we've had even guys leave the oil field despite the good money to come work with us and take a pay cut because they needed to get out of the environment. So you're absolutely right on that a lot of people in that field of work do struggle with drug addiction, just like they do in trucking, because both jobs are usually 12 hours on and sometimes 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. And to your second question about how Cornbread Hustle got started and what we do, we're a staffing agency for second chances, meaning we help people coming out of prison or people in drug or alcohol recovery find meaningful employment. What does meaningful employment mean? Well, it doesn't mean, hey, you're going to show up and we're going to give you your dream job of becoming a drummer in a band or become a doctor tomorrow. It means getting you on the path to get you closer to where you want to be and what your ultimate goal is, and we're here to kind of guide you through that process. So we're the middleman but between prison and employment, and we're here to advocate for you. We're here to do the interviewing and vetting to make sure that you have had that internal desire for change and that you have made strides to transform your life, because we're not here to give handouts. We're not a charity. We're not throwing broken people who haven't done the work to heal into the workplace.
Right, correct. Yeah, I see it all the time. I used to drink real heavily. I've been sober now for a bit, and I see it all the time in meetings where people have just lost everything. But one thing I've noticed about addiction, whether it be alcohol, drugs, it's pretty smart people, pretty successful people once they get their lives together. So I think it's such a great thing that you're doing,
Thank you.
uh, putting it all together. How did you kind of come about it? Was it just you wanted to kind of share the gift you've had with others, or?
That's precisely what happened. I in 2004 through 2007, I was a meth addict. I got arrested a whole bunch of times, not because of the drug, well, not because of drug possession, but because of just irresponsible things like not paying traffic tickets or petty theft or DWI. But I never got a felony, which is a miracle because I
Yeah.
was always driving around with a bunch of meth and other substances on me, and I was drug dealing a controlled substance, which can land you in prison for life. And I went on to get into the newsroom and become vice president of a PR firm and start doing PR consulting for some really big brands and people and companies. And I just thought to myself, man, I'm very rebellious and I had an addiction, but I rechanneled that to be successful. So I'm sure that other people probably could do the same that I've done. All they need is an opportunity. And the difference between me and those people is they got caught and they can't get that open door. So why don't I be the bridge that, kind of fills the gap of prison to employment. And I took it even a step further. Instead of saying, oh, I just want to help these people because it's the gift that I received, I said, not only do I believe in these people and I want to help them, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to make this a for-profit company. And the only way that Cornbread Hustle is successful is if people are productive members of society and at their jobs earning a paycheck.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm very honest on my LinkedIn. I talk about being only 17 months sober from alcohol. I just recently had to kick that habit, or addiction, I should say. It was more than a habit. And honestly, if I wouldn't have been drunk 4 years ago when I started this company, I don't know if I would have done it, because it is a crazy concept to charge money to give a second chance. I literally charge companies money to hire felons from us. So it works. It's been working. We're successful. It depends how you define success. I define success way differently than other people define success, but we're successful and we're happy and we're growing and we're scaling.
So do you, as far as prisons, do you, I don't know, have brochures or something in the prisons? How does that work, where you get guys and girls basically about to come out of prison? How do you line them up with work? If people are watching, that's really fascinating as well. How does that process go about?
Well, prison, if you can imagine the game of telephone, like, I mean, they're really, word spreads pretty fast in prison, if you can imagine. So I've been going into prisons and volunteering for the last decade. So especially in Texas, if you're in a Texas prison, you've most likely heard about Cornbread Hustle and know what it's all about. And at this point, we've had people that's come through our program and have landed back into prison. So word has spread, because obviously not everybody that we've hired stayed completely out of prison. We do have a recidivism rate, but it's not 80% like the national average. We've had, maybe a couple of guys go back in, or because of a drug relapse or something. But at the end of the day, it's just word of mouth. And I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn, and that's how we get the word out. It's storytelling. That's where a lot of companies miss the mark when it comes to PR and marketing. They're trying to craft a story, and they're trying to come up with an angle and be relevant to whatever's going on, when all you really have to do is tell behind the scenes stories and be transparent about what you're dealing with as a business owner.
Gotcha. Are businesses pretty open to you guys, or do you get some that are really open to it and jump into it, and others are hesitant? Or
thankfully, I haven't had to cold call or try to pitch our services. When companies reach out because they're interested in hiring from us, they're already interested in second chance hiring. So I don't have to do any convincing. Now, one thing that I do have to educate on is a lot of clients will call us and say, hey, I'd like to hire from you guys, but we only want the nonviolent drug offenses. And so I just have to go into explaining to them that my entire staff here at Cornbread Hustle has violent charges that aren't drug related. They were probably induced because of drugs, but they're not drug related. And just explaining to them that to not be so afraid of the word violent. Everybody wants to jump up and quickly say, okay, we'll take somebody, but let's get the nonviolent charges. Well, the nonviolent charges sometimes are the most riskiest, because it's usually a result of an addiction and a disease like what I have. Mm-hmm. I could drink tomorrow a lot quicker than one of our violent second chancers goes out and hurts somebody. A lot of the times our violent cases was a crime of passion. It was something that was built up in the heat of the moment, and it was just a bad night and a mistake. With addictions, I mean, obviously I'm the biggest advocate for people who struggle with addiction ever. So I'm not saying don't hire somebody who has an addiction, obviously. But I'm just saying that hiring somebody with a nonviolent drug crime is just as risky, if not riskier, than hiring somebody with a violent crime. You need to look at things as a case-by-case basis. I mean, if you're running a daycare, then you're obviously not going to say, hey, will you send me somebody that has a a sex offense against a child, right? You got to
Yeah.
you got to use common sense and be logical about the second chance that you're giving. You know, you might not want to hire somebody who, you know, has a major theft charge to be your accountant, right? And we've actually placed accountants that have been in trouble for theft, so it's not off the wall, completely crazy. We believe that anybody can change, and once somebody's transformed, their past doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference. It's just up to the HR person and the company policies on, you know, what kind of calculated risk they want to take when it comes to bringing in second chance employees. And it's okay to start small sometimes, you know. Sometimes we tell our clients, okay, that's fine. If it makes you feel better and you want to start out with nonviolent drug charges, we're okay with that. And 9 times out of 10, well, really 10 times out of 10, the client will call back a couple of months later and be like, nah, I don't care about the background. You guys just vet them, send them over. We trust you guys by now. It's all good.
Awesome. Awesome. So if somebody's watching and they have had issues in the past, petroleum engineers, various things, can they send a resume to your company, or how would that work to get into the program?
Yeah, so if they go to cornbreadhustle.com and just click on the jobs page, you'll see all the open positions that we have. Anybody is welcome to go to the CBH applicant job and submit your resume. We do have a dedicated direct hire recruiter that looks through strong resumes and creates profiles, and we essentially go to employers and say, hey, we have this person. Are you looking for somebody like this? Like, we'll literally, if we don't have the client or the job opening, if we find a really great person that deserves a second chance, I hate using the word deserve. We all deserve a second chance in God's grace. But if we see that somebody has made effort and has shown a level of transformation, then we will advocate for somebody regardless if we already have that client or an open rec or not.
Absolutely. There's a lot of guys like that that have been running clean and straight for the last, 3 or 4 years, and then the oil bust, oil went negative, everybody just stopped. So a lot of them are probably in desperate need of, a company like you that actually specializes in that kind of stuff. I can't thank you enough for what you do. As a sober person myself, I love it.
Oh, thank you, Josh.
It makes me so happy to see stuff like that, because people who haven't gone to a meeting or wouldn't understand, they don't understand how hard it is, but how, I guess, helpful everybody truly is that has struggled with the same issues, alcohol, drugs. It is a struggle, but the power that releases, I guess you could say, from sobriety is unmatched. So I just really appreciate what you're doing. Have you I noticed you do a lot of I guess speeches, or do you have a tour kind of going, or how does that all work?
I'm not that big time. No. I wish I did. That'd be cool. Honestly, just when I feel like I have either overcome something or I'm going through something and I feel like there's people out there that can relate, I just throw up my phone and I do a selfie video. That's about it. I do speak here and there. I've done keynote speeches, but I don't run around trying to charge a ton of money and, like you said, going on tour. I do want to write a book just because there's so much information that I want to get out there. I have hundreds of people on LinkedIn messaging me every day that say, hey, today's my day one. And I'll write back and say, message me back tonight. Let me know if you stayed sober today, or how are you doing today? Like, I never do any judgment. I never push them to go to AA. I never push God on them. I'm just a listening ear that they can message and say, hey, I'm back on the wagon today. I mean, I literally have people that message me almost every day saying, today's day one, and they keep trying. Well, today's day one again. I say, keep trying. It's okay. You know, I feel like, because I wanted to get sober for 5 years, but I didn't know I had a problem. And that's a gap that I want to help build a bridge over, because as an entrepreneur that was successful, living in a high rise, working with some really credible people, I felt like alcohol helped me close deals. What I didn't know is I would have been way more successful, less miserable, not suicidal, had money
Yeah.
in my bank account, all the things that you don't have, right, when you're drinking, had I got sober. And if there was a girl on LinkedIn that was young and still hosting events and, doing marketing, in business, maybe a CEO, anybody that I could even remotely relate to that was being open and transparent at 5 months sober, 6 months sober, walking us through the journey. If I was able to see her before and after pictures and be like, wow, like start relating to that, I would have got sober so much sooner. And I just feel, as hard as it is sometimes to put my business out there, I couldn't tell you how many people have decided to start their day ones only because of the posts that I've made in LinkedIn. And that's pretty powerful right there. And that's, some people want to remain anonymous, and I understand that. I don't wish the pressure that I have on anybody. It's not easy to be struggling, wanting to have that first drink, but knowing that you can't, not only because you're being true to yourself, but because you have all these LinkedIn followers that are messaging you every day saying, I want to get sober. It's pressure that I don't wish on anybody, and I don't know if it was the healthiest thing for me to do for my recovery. However, I personally wouldn't have it any other way, and I feel like it's my calling to I'm a storyteller. I think that's why God had me become a news reporter and get into PR and marketing, so I would be molded and equipped to tell stories to help people not be afraid of sobriety. I was so afraid of it. Like, am I going to be boring? Am I going to be square? How am I going to have fun? How am I going to relax? But I have too much anxiety. What are people? There was just, I had so many excuses not to get sober that even the benefits seemed not worth it. And I feel like as a storyteller, I'm able to give people a front row seat to my journey of what's changed in my life and what I've been able to obtain. I went from negative $3,000 in the bank to having a $1 million company. I lost 50 pounds. I have peace now. I'm able to sit by myself and write in my journal and read these things are things I never would have ever been able to do. I was busy girl, always on the go. I thought that being busy showed people I was successful, and it wasn't. And I think the most important thing about me being transparent about my sobriety is sharing when I'm struggling. Because if I'm only talking about the good times, and if I'm only showing how great sobriety is, people are going to think I'm a liar, or they're going to think that it's not for them, because they're going to be in their month 3 watching me on a video saying everything's great, there's rainbows and butterflies, and they're going to be like, this girl's a robot, she can do it, it's not for me. So, it does get easier. I pray to God that 5 years from now that I'm not every other day struggling with temptation. If I still am, then I'll be honest about it. But I hope that I get to more of a neutral state at some point, and every day gets better. But it'd be hypocritical of me to get on video only when the days are good and promoting sobriety and how great it is, when there's people that are really, there's people that will never walk into an AA meeting, okay? Yeah. And there's people who will never open a Bible, and that's okay. Those are also the people that you never want to try to jam those things down their throat, because they're going to run so far the opposite way from sobriety that you'll just do more harm than good. So our job as people in recovery is to just reveal the gifts that sobriety gives us, so it makes people look at us and say, okay, what is she doing? I want what she has. even if that means avoiding all the extra stuff. Because if you're in recovery, Josh, you know that it's every single day we have to work to be spiritually fit. I have to set my alarm clock and wake up early to do, I pray every single morning to God. God, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I could hear the birds this morning, because when I was drunk, I never heard the birds. I was too hungover and had too much anxiety. And please keep me sober. Like, I'm praying to God every single day in the beginning of the day to please keep me sober. And there's a lot of work that comes with, it's a lot different. It's not just willpower. You're not just having willpower to not drink. It's a lot of work to have peace while being sober.
Yeah.
That's the goal. It's not to just be sober and stay away from the drink, because there's a lot of miserable people who are white knuckling it and have no peace in their lives. And God wants us to have joy. God wants us to be happy and have peace. And, you know, a lot of people that are struggling with addiction, me including, in your first year, you're often thinking, this isn't fair. Why can't I have fun? Why do I have this disease? But I've kind of come to a point in my life where I'm like, I'm so excited that I have, that this alcoholism allowed me to have no choice but to find peace and work on myself and to get close with God. So, you know, whenever I did that video the other day talking about being envious of people who could drink, like, must be nice to have a couple of margaritas and not ruin your freaking life.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
be
like,
done.
it makes me so mad. But then, you know, after I posted that video, I thought about it, and that girl that I was saying that to in my mind that posted on Facebook, she's probably looking at my pictures thinking, must be nice to be able to go through life without having to drink, and must be nice to be so happy for apparently no reason, right? So while we're sitting here being envious of people that can drink, who even says that they can? Who says that their life isn't in shambles? Who says that they're not miserable? So, you know, it's just perspective, right? It's perception. What looks like a beautiful day with a margarita on the patio might be one of the most unhappiest days of their life, and they're trying to drink away the pain of a toxic relationship they don't know how to get out of. And they may be secretly looking at us in envy saying, how are they at a bar able to drink a club soda and lime? Like, you know, because we're alcoholics in recovery, we're able to sit with ourselves. We don't have to escape our reality. We learn to, that's where the work comes, right? The work is in making your reality so great you don't have to escape it. And it is not fun to do that work. It's kind of like cleaning up your credit and going on a budget and not buying fun things for a while so you can have freedom, so you can have financial freedom. And that's what you have to do with your life, and what you have to do in recovery is do the work. Look at those people that may have hurt you, and friends that you have cut off or need to cut off or cut you off because they should have, or the people that you might need to say sorry to, or, you know, just looking at your credit score and saying, what the hell? It's not fun. It's not fun, and it's a lot of work. But once you get through all of that stuff, then you start to live a life where you don't really want alcohol, because you're like, I really don't want to mess this up.
Yeah, it gets really good. I read a book, the Russell Brand recovery book. I don't know if you read that.
Yes, I have.
The guy suggested it to me the first night of AA, because I was definitely one of the guys like, I don't know about this meeting thing. He's like, well, check out that book too. Why? And just keep coming back. And the Frisco group is amazing. It's Zoom meetings now, of course, but the church where it's at, they shut down for now. So
I do know that. I actually just met with somebody from LinkedIn that actually attends. I mean, we'll talk offline, but I hear a lot of great things about the Frisco group, and I will definitely make sure I come visit very soon when you guys open.
That'll be great. Yeah, it's a packed house. I imagine it's going to be a lot more busy. That's one thing I've noticed on Twitter and all of it. You have a lot of people that knew how much you used to drink, and they've kind of hit that wall themselves, and they're kind of reaching out. and it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to them about me, and try to help them along with their own issues. But I think, like you said, it's not a one and done kind of deal. There's a lot of work you need to put into sobriety every day. But once you get going, it's like a snowball, and it just gains momentum. And I've absolutely loved it. Have you? Are there any other books you've read that you really, really like?
So the first book that I read that got me on my journey to quit drinking is called The Naked Mind, Control Alcohol. Makes me laugh that I would buy a book called Control Alcohol. That's how much I was trying to just control my consumption. I didn't want to quit. But all the facts in that book, basically exploring what alcohol does to us, and how it changes our thinking and how it causes anxiety, was some pretty good points. And that's the whole thing. A lot of people don't get out of the grips of addiction because they just simply haven't had access to education.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes being educated with some facts. We live in a world today where we will see in our news feed news articles that say a glass of wine a day is great for you. And so people, alcoholics like me, will be like, great.
Yep.
And keep scrolling. And then, there's billboards everywhere we look of sexy, hot women holding a cocktail, and successful men with a pricey cigar in their hands. So we're brainwashed every single day by companies that have money to put alcohol in front of us. And man, I could never do it, but if I were to be a marketing person for an alcohol company, it'd be the easiest job I could ever have. All you have to do is find a way to manipulate and take advantage of people's brokenness and put the right ads in front of them, and you got them hook, line, and sinker, because we constantly, as alcoholics, search for justifications. We'll do anything not to quit drinking. And to top it off, we have billboards telling us that it makes us happy, helps us sleep, and makes us sexy, when it does all of the opposite. So Control Alcohol is one of them. Another book is The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. That's a great book. I actually read a book the other day. It has nothing to do with alcoholism, but I really liked it. It was a real quick read. It was called something along the lines of Your Prophetic Destiny, walking in your prophetic destiny, or basically helping you continue your purpose that God has for you. And that helped a lot because I never read Christian books because I thought they would be boring, and I wasn't really a believer anyway. But now that I am, I actually enjoy reading them because I see a lot of scripture that I'm reading in my Bible line up with great leadership advice, which is pretty cool. Man, if anybody asks you, I can't believe I can't think of the books. I literally am on the last chapter right now, but I forgot it. And then there's a book that was suggested to me that I'm about to read that I haven't read yet, but I heard it's really good. It's called Tweak. It's actually about a guy that was addicted to methamphetamines. I heard that that's a real page turner. Jessica Simpson just wrote a book. It's not bad. I wish it talked more about alcoholism. Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of reading, but I flip-flop between Christian, I hate to call it this, it sounds so lame, but Christian self-help books. Like that book called Boundaries, which is like super, super popular and sold millions of copies. That's actually a Christian book because it has scripture all throughout it. It has very logical, great advice when it comes to maintaining your peace and serenity when navigating potentially toxic relationships.
Yeah. It's amazing how much more, I guess, patience, you can call it, I have now than I used to. Just kind of because I'm more mentally clear, not hungover. I'm not dealing with all the other issues.
How
Trying
long
to
have you
make
been sober, Josh?
coming up on 9 months now.
Good for
So
you.
yeah, it's definitely been a crazy year too. So I'm very happy.
That's good. Yeah, I struggled really bad at 5 months, 10 months, and 13. Those
Awesome.
were my months of struggle. And month 5 and month 10 were very scary. They were like suicidal. It was horrible. But that's because I wasn't doing the work. I was just being sober. I wasn't in recovery. And then month 13, I think it was one of those things where, I got over the year hump. It wasn't like a what now, what's next, but I think it was one of those things where I had started to see my transformation and things getting better, but they weren't good enough for me yet. I still didn't understand why life was still hard when I've been sober for a whole year. I'm like, I've been sober for a whole year. Why am I still struggling? And I think I just got really depressed about that. Like the whole, why am I even doing this if I'm still going to struggle anyway? Like, screw this. But I didn't. I kept going. So here I am, 17 months.
I think everybody should do a 4-step every day. It would actually, if people went through just check out the steps and actually do them every day, even if you don't have an alcohol problem, I think it definitely would help a lot of people kind of give them peace a little bit. 'Cause I know it's worked a lot for me. All right. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about, or is there anything you want to kind of touch on?
No, just if you think you may have a problem with alcohol, you probably do, and it's okay. 1 in 4 people do. There's nothing wrong with you. In fact, you're probably absolutely creative and brilliant, and you're just so awesome that you feel like you have to water down your awesomeness, but you don't. In fact, you can let your light shine, and the only way to let your light shine and not dim it is to get rid of the drink. And it's not easy. It's a struggle. It's a daily struggle. It's hard to accept that it's a daily struggle in the first place, but life is great on the other side. It really is. It really, really is. When I think about where my life used to be and where it's at today, the fact that I can calmly be on this podcast with you and take time out of my day to do it, and I saw my phone going off and emails over here, but I could still pay attention and be present. The greatest gift, that's why it's called present. I get it now, because it is such a gift to be present. All my friends and family, especially ones that haven't seen me in a while, they don't even recognize me. My tone of voice has changed. My demeanor has changed. Obviously, my weight, everything about me is different and in a better way. And had I not did the work and get sober, I've got sober for 3 months at a time before, 4 months. But I think it takes like really an entire year until you really start seeing like the benefits and the effects. Had I not done this and went through the work and got sober, I would have never known what could have been. So sometimes I have so much more empathy now for the person still struggling, because I'm like, oh, they have no idea how great it could be. Like, you don't even know. You imagine and daydream, like, I'll lose about 20 pounds and maybe I'll stop spending so much money at the bar. I had no idea I would grow $1 million company. And, well, I didn't know I'd be brunette either. Like, I don't know what happened there. I guess lifestyle change, you color your hair. But I had no idea how when I got sober, it was not because I wanted to be at peace and listen to the birds. If you would have told me, Cheri, you're going to get sober, and the best thing about it is you're going to hear those birds, I'd be like, okay, well, I will stick to this because this sounds more fun than listening to the birds. But the truth is, nothing is more fun than being able to sit by yourself and be okay.
Awesome. Yeah, the sunrise is a beautiful thing. You start to notice again. So, all right, Cheri. Well, I won't keep you. I know you're super busy, but I truly appreciate you coming on. And like I said, I love what you're doing. So I will definitely be sending people your way.
Okay, thanks. Let me know when this is up. Or are we live somewhere?
We're not live. It's going to YouTube, but it's private right now. So
Okay, great. Well, if you want to send me the file, I could possibly have my editor go through a couple of clips and find some really powerful ones and subtitle them, and maybe I could post something on LinkedIn. I'm sure I said a thing or two that could make an impact, so we
sure,
could find something.
sure.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
get it
Well,
over
just
to you.
stay in touch. You have my info. Reach out anytime. I'll be quicker to respond on email because sometimes my LinkedIn gets clogged up, but just keep in touch and get me over the file, and maybe I'll work on a couple of little videos or something if I get the free time.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot,
Okay.
Cheri. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Mhm.